Hey guys, I hope all is well. Thank you for joining me for this Truth Talk episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Beyonce's Renaissance Tour. Let's get right into it. Beyonce has been the biggest female artist in the world for the last 20 years. She was named the 8th greatest singer of all time by Rolling Stone, and she also has been nominated for 88 Grammy Awards, winning a whopping 32 of them. It's actually reported that Beyonce and Jay-Z are both tied for the most Grammy-nominated artists, as they each have 88 nominations. There aren't that many artists that make it to the level Beyonce has made it to. This is why she is seen as a queen, even being nicknamed Queen Bee, as she's clearly the queen of the music industry. Sitting next to considerably one of the most successful rappers of all time, Jay-Z, makes it even harder to deny. By now, if you're watching this channel, you should already know Beyonce didn't make it to this level because of talent and luck. She was chosen and put in place to become the biggest female artist of our time. The music industry and the world of the occult are one and the same. The biggest artists aren't just rappers and singers, they are occultists who are involved in ritual and ceremonial magic. Beyonce made it to the top by participating in it all. She has been showing signs of this for the last 20 years. Beyonce, like many occultist Masonic puppets, can be seen time and time again doing the one-eye symbolism. She can be seen covering one of her eyes by placing one hand over it. She can also be seen doing the Masonic all-seeing eye pose or displaying open as day Saturn worship imagery. For those who don't know, Saturn was a god worshipped by the Romans. He was the god of agriculture, wealth, and war. He was also known as the god who ate 5 out of his 6 sons. For those that didn't know, the planet Saturn is named after the Roman god, and so is the day Saturday, which is really called Saturn Day. The Freemasons and occultists worship Saturn because of his close resemblance to Lucifer. Saturn, just like Lucifer, is seen as a liberator to occultists, seeing Saturn as just another representation of Lucifer. This is why we see so many celebrities displaying Saturn imagery. We have seen artists like Adele in the past displaying Saturn imagery, as she even has a Saturn tattoo. We can also find Doja Cat displaying Saturn imagery as well, as she can be seen holding Saturn in this photo. Beyonce can be seen with a ring behind her head. The ring symbol is used to reference Saturn since the planet has a ring orbiting around it. Beyonce is the female counterpart to Jay-Z. Together, they are the Masonic checkerboard floor. Beyonce the biggest female artist, and Jay-Z the biggest male artist. Duality at its finest. Jay-Z is looked at as a god in hip-hop, just like Beyonce in the pop world. With Beyonce, some people don't just see her as a god, they worship her like one too. Like I said in a previous video I made on Beyonce, believe it or not, there is a Beyonce church that worships her as a literal god. They worship Beyonce in a church service just like they would with the Lord. People see this and think nothing of it, but they don't understand what's truly going on. She was chosen by the hierarchy of Freemasonry. She was built up and put in place in order to manipulate the minds of the female audience. It's not a surprise that she's being worshipped. She was created for this. For the last few years, the industry has been using Beyonce to put out imagery that I can only interpret as apocalypse imagery. It all started back in July 2020, when Beyonce sat on top a white horse in the Black is King movie, and then in June 2022, she revealed the cover for the Renaissance album, showing herself on top of a silver horse. Then, in July 2022, Beyonce was seen on a red horse for the Vogue cover shoot, and then we saw her in August posing with a black horse for Harper's Bazaar. If you read the New Testament part of the Bible, then this should ring bells to you. Beyonce has been showing herself on all 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: pestilence, war, famine, and death. It's very interesting that this all started back in 2020, when the world changed forever. If you think this is a coincidence, think again. Everything happens for a reason. What happened in 2020 was a result of the plans that have been in motion for centuries. Beyonce is a part of the rolling out of those plans. This obvious apocalypse imagery coming from Beyonce is continuing on her new tour, which she called the Renaissance Tour. For the last few months, Beyonce has been on a major sold-out tour, jam-packed with her biggest worshippers. During this tour, Beyonce has been putting out some very interesting imagery that ties into all of the apocalypse imagery we have been seeing coming from Hollywood. The part of the show that caught my attention the most was the intro to the show itself. In this video of the tour that's shown online, I saw that they showed plenty of concerning imagery in the very beginning of the show. The show starts by displaying a solar eclipse on the screen before Beyonce is shown on the screen with a light revolving around her. The solar eclipse imagery is actually used by occultists to symbolize a start of a massive change. The pagans used to wait for solar eclipse in order to perform sacrifices, while other civilizations saw the eclipse as a signal of the end times. We then see what appears to be a portal in the middle of the stage with Beyonce's face shown in the middle of it. They then show an image of Beyonce laying on her side on the screen as she slowly turns into a robot. This is supposed to represent a rebirth, as she even states during the intro, "Welcome to my renaissance, my rebirth." The screen then transitions into a portal that shows Beyonce riding a pale horse, which is death. Another portal appears, and then we see what appears to be a fallen angel riding a rocket into a city. This is obvious apocalypse imagery, and it's interesting to see Beyonce putting this imagery out there while we are witnessing everything that's happening around us. She literally showed the pale horse, which represents death, and then showed a fallen angel riding a rocket into a city. The fans just sit there and cheer, not knowing what they're being exposed to. After this, Beyonce is shown on the screen repeatedly, as if she's some sort of robot, and eventually, the portal opens up to show the new Beyonce coming to life as this robot woman. This part of the show actually comes directly from a 1927 movie called Metropolis. The movie Metropolis is about a futuristic, dystopian, post-apocalyptic world that is divided into two separate classes, one for the elite and another for the working class. And in this world, the elite have established the New World Order. In this New World Order, the elite live in a utopia, while the masses live in despair, working non-stop as literal human robots. The workers live deep underground and are only allowed to work while they're consistently being monitored. They show these workers as slaves that have been turned into manual labor robots. This movie is tied directly to the occult, and I think I should do a full breakdown on this movie. If you guys would like to see that, comment Metropolis below. It's obvious Beyonce is referring to the robot Maria in the movie, as they show Beyonce going from a human to a robot. She looks identical to the Maria robot in the movie, which was created to spread chaos. A movie that's a direct reference to the new Masonic world. During her show, we see Beyonce being introduced just as the robot Maria is introduced in the movie. It pretty much looks exactly the same, as I'm pretty sure Beyonce was inspired by this. In the movie, when they show the robot Maria, she can be seen in front of a pentagram showing she is tied to Lucifer. This is what Beyonce is referring to with this performance. She is referring to this dystopian future where the elite enslave the masses. Just looking at the imagery coming from Beyonce's show, you can see exactly what she is referring to. Just like the rest of the imagery being put out by Hollywood, Beyonce is referring to the Great Reset, the start of the New World Order. This is what the horseman imagery is referring to, as the horsemen are a reference to the end times. In order for the New World Order to start, the old order must end. This is why she shows a robotic Lucifer destroying the city. This is also why they keep on showing the portal imagery. They're referring to the new world that is emerging. All of this imagery ties directly back to the occult. Beyonce has been referring to the robot from Metropolis for a while now. Beyonce wore this outfit for a BET Awards back in the 2000s. This is who she always represented. It's obvious Beyonce is being used to put out this imagery, just like Kendrick Lamar is being used to put out Antichrist imagery. You have to pay attention to the imagery these artists are putting out. Beyonce showed herself on the Four Horsemen. Her Renaissance album literally shows herself riding the pale horse of death. Then during this entire performance, she's showing this apocalypse imagery and again pointing to a movie that takes place after the apocalypse, showing a world where the New World Order has been established. Throughout this performance, they have some interesting imagery going on. Beyonce can be seen flying like a goddess in the sky, riding the pale horse, which is pointing to the great spiritual war that would happen in the end times. She can also be seen in front of a portal, which is interesting when you realize that CERN, those who are literally creating a portal, have a statue of the goddess Shiva, the great destroyer, at their facility. During the performance, Beyonce depicts herself exactly like Shiva, as she can be seen positioned in front of her backup dancers to appear as if she has many arms. This is exactly how Shiva is presented. This is obvious imagery telling us exactly what they're planning. This is what Beyonce was built up to the level of false god for. She has the masses under a trance, and she is guiding them into the new world. I also saw a video floating around of one of Beyonce's shows that shows Blue Ivy, Beyonce's daughter, throwing up the Masonic pyramid. I wouldn't be surprised if she had already been indoctrinated into the Masonic order. They actually have a Masonic lodge for girls under 21 called the International Rainbow Girls, or the other Masonic organization called the Job Daughters. Both of these are Masonic organizations for young girls. They already have Blue Ivy showing her alliance, so I wouldn't be surprised if she was a part of it. Just like the rest of the Hollywood sellouts, Beyonce and Jay-Z sold their daughters to the industry. They are two of the biggest puppets the industry has ever seen. Beyonce and Jay-Z both openly show they took the oath, and they also make it clear that they are against the God we serve. Jay-Z is actually producing a movie called The Book of Clarence, which mocks God and those who follow him. The movie is about a man who impersonates Jesus in order to be treated like a prophet. The movie once again shows Jay-Z's true colors. The truth is, Beyonce made it to this level by practicing ritual magic. She is showing her audience that she has transcended and that she is now enlightened. This is why she is presenting herself as a god and her fans as her worshippers. People refuse to believe that Beyonce is an occultist, but even her own people called her out for it. One of Beyonce's former drummers came out and exposed Beyonce for being a witch.
The fact that people keep saying I'm crazy? Hell, the situations I had to deal with and survive are crazy. About other situations where changing into animals and jumping into other bodies and all kinds of really crazy stuff. They were like, the cat has a spell on it. The cat was taken back to her people,
People just ignored it as the media painted the drummer as a crazy woman. This drummer tried to tell the world the truth, as Beyonce has been revealing this herself. But the masses didn't listen, as they didn't care and they just continued to worship her. We are in some very interesting times, and now more than ever, you should seek God for yourself and make sure you understand what's needed for your salvation. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.